This is Thursday, March 22nd. The year is 2001, I believe the year of the rooster? No, whatever. Anyway, it's my mother's birthday, her 93rd birthday, and Jack and MJ have just come in from Fairfield, Connecticut to help us celebrate.
And we're about to open presents.
And we're about to open presents. We have had cake and ice cream.
Read it to you. Okay. A heart that's full of tenderness, a smile that's very dear, thoughtfulness in everything you do throughout the year. A love that's very deep and true, an understanding way, sympathy and faith and trust through every passing day. Forgiveness for the faults we have and praise for things we do. These make a perfect mother, a mother just like you. Ah, very, very nice.
That is nice. Beautiful card.
Pretty.
Oh, I love that.
I have several on here tonight because I didn't want to pack them in my suitcase. Normally it doesn't look that way, does it?
Well, a girl's got to
Like
have a
that?
full wardrobe of jewelry.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe that salmon outfit you had on the other day, that new one of yours, Mother?
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Very pretty. Thank you very much.
All right.
You're
All
welcome.
right.
Happy birthday.
Don't get my cold. You don't
I-
need. I should have combed my hair and put some. Look, this paper's too pretty to unwrap.
This actually was a transition. It was so nice to me. I let him sit at the table. And we had a wonderful time. She's smart and funny and kind and good and just really
I think I
terrific.
got her first book.
Living Out Loud, which was a collection of her articles.
But you have the candles.
Double.
Now, this one you have to read
Mom, I plan to send you
carefully.
on an exotic cruise for your birthday, but I knew you'd miss me too much. That's the kind of mom you are. Aaron.
Yeah, really?
We were out for dinner when Jim was there, and we were on the way home, and I said to Aaron, wouldn't you like to go over and spend the night with Grandma, or with Gigi? And he didn't say anything for a little bit, and he said, well, he said, I think Mommy and Daddy would be too lonely.
Aww.
He's
He is so
really
cute.
special,
Perfect.
Jack always manages to find a
Ooh.
card like that, doesn't he? I had some of the darndest cards. Some I've saved, Jack, a few sent to me.
Oops.
Darndest cards is one way of describing it.
I'll have to show that to Kathy.
Down.
Let's see. This is Jack again.
New York Times bestseller for a year, so.
And Jack and I and my kids have ever stopped to have a picture
Okay.
taken
Is that
of ourselves.
Is that your?
Oh,
Here we are. You can see
Here
the
we are.
marker.
Oh, that's nice. What a nice picture.
And one of Jack's
I love
special
it.
cards. I think he has cards made up for him or something.
Margaret said, oh
Really
gosh,
nice.
Mom, now we have to do it every year. I said, I don't think we need to get
No,
carried
maybe
away.
every 5 years would be nice, huh?
Yes, yes.
I have photographs of me when I was about 4 or 5 years old with my father.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
I'd
Mother,
love to see those.
why don't you tell us a little bit about your father? What was your father like?
He was a wonderful father. He loved me. You know, he
That's
loved me.
That
a
makes
good
it good.
reason
That's
right
a good
there.
start.
He never said, I love you. But
Is that
he
right?
knew that he did.
Mhm.
What-
Can
Yeah.
you believe it?
What
Oh,
else
I
was
do.
wonderful about
Some
him?
people say it and they don't really mean it.
Right.
What else was wonderful about your father?
I was the only little girl in town that had electricity in her playhouse.
I think you were
That's
spoiled
very
rotten is what I
special.
think.
And how did that come about?
I have no idea. They didn't have any children for about 8 years, and then they had me.
Okay.
See, so I was, you know how
Special,
it is, I suppose.
special
I
to
don't know.
start.
So he could do
He
anything.
did it himself? Yeah. He was one of those can do anything kind of guys. I'm married to one of those, I know about
Too
that.
bad I don't have the picture of us feeding the chicken. He had a hobby of sending for eggs. We didn't have a farm or anything.
Mhm.
And he'd get the darndest looking creatures came out of those eggs you ever saw.
Creatures?
What do you
Yeah.
mean?
Well, like dinosaurs or?
No, no. Different kinds of
Ostriches?
chickens. I didn't know there were so many different kinds of chickens. Picture of, I'm out helping him feed the chickens out of a big bucket of food, and we're feeding the chickens.
So he'd order a bunch of eggs, and then, did you sit on the
He
eggs?
got
Who sat on
catalogs
the
about
eggs?
different kinds of chickens.
Yeah.
Someone would have fluffy feathers on their legs.
Uh-huh.
And I
That's
have
great.
those pictures, which is great.
Of you.
And tell us something about your mother. Where was she when all this was going on?
Well, mother was, her parents had 2 boys, and that she wanted more children, she wanted a girl so badly. She finally adopted a little girl. A Catholic family in town had so many children they couldn't feed them, literally.
Mm.
They were offering them up for
Mhm.
adoption. And they adopted this little girl. She was 11 years old, and it was just fit in with their 2 boys who were just a little bit older.
Mhm.
And then she was supposed to go to the Catholic church, so, you know.
Mm.
But every Sunday they go to church, and she wanted to go to church with them. So they finally let her go. And I guess for years and years, my grandfather and the Catholic priest wrote letters to the editor on this thing.
In what
Oh,
town?
funny.
Was this in Kersey?
I beg your pardon?
What town?
Yes, in
In
Kersey,
Kersey, yeah.
Pennsylvania, a little town. way
Which
up
is
in
where you
northern
were born?
Pennsylvania. I beg your pardon?
Were you born in Kersey or Du Bois?
I was in Kersey.
Kersey.
Kersey. I lived there only till I was about 6 years old, though, and then moved to Botany.
Where did Du Bois come in? Where did Du Bois come in there?
It was an inn.
2 boys and a girl.
Uncle Charlie, was that where he lived?
I beg your pardon?
Uncle Charlie, is that where he lived?
Oh, no,
No?
Brockway. We didn't.
Brockway.
Quite a family, my mother's family. Uncle Charlie, remember, he was also an artist. He built Forest, all of his whole thing.
The model trains.
Yeah, do you
Train
remember
builders.
that?
Oh, absolutely, in the
Yeah,
basement.
Yeah.
Basement of his home in
Yeah,
Brockway,
he was the chairman
Pennsylvania.
of the board of the bank there, you know, he was prominent in his little town.
Charlie Macaulay.
Charlie McCarthy. They're all very, very brave people.
Growing up with Daisy and George,
Wonderful, they were wonderful parents.
what are your fondest
They were
memories?
spanking parents.
Not
I
spanking,
wasn't spanking, we weren't spanking
Okay.
parents.
but what were your fondest memories growing up with them and your brothers and sisters?
My father came from he was second family Scotch, you know. His parents were both born in Scotland. And he was a 4th boy, and then there were 2 girls, I think, after that, but they're pretty big family. But there isn't really too much to tell, I remember.
Well, you've told some pretty nice stories about your mother and father and their relationship with each other.
Oh, they had a wonderful, wonderful marriage. They really did.
How did you know that?
Well, how do you know things like this? You just sort of know them, I guess. Always vacation. They had a vacation together once a year, and they had somebody in to take care of 5 children while they went off alone.
That says something, doesn't it?
No. So, better than mine, I fought every once in a while.
Now, Mother,
We fought.
the first child of Daisy and George was Harold, right?
Harold.
What do you remember of Harold?
Well, he was, all of the nice brothers were wonderful. They were big brothers, you know, and I was a little kid. He was 10 or 12 years old when I was born. And they were both so very kind to me. I came along a little girl.
They decided they were gonna take care of their little
They were gonna
sister.
take care of my little sister. And my brother was buried out here in River City,
He was killed in a tunnel,
Kings Hill.
cave
The
in?
tunnel on the
He was a mining
freeway going
engineer?
over towards Walnut Creek, it was one of those after the war.
Could be in your backyard, Janice.
We just went through the tunnel yesterday. I think about it every time I go through it.
Yeah.
It's called the Caldecott Tunnel.
They wanted my father to come. Wonderful place to live, climate, everything was just so. So he took the two boys and went by ship, no planes, of course, back in the old days. It took forever to get there. They all went there, and mother, they sold off their house, they sold off their furniture. Mother's waiting with my older sister Helen and Lester, and he took care of that he had a place for us to stay and so forth. We were to come. We got a telegram saying, "I don't like it here, I'm coming home." His brother stayed, and he left the two boys there because my aunt was a professor in the university there, and they had a chance to have an education, and so can't be nice.
Not bad. Well, now two of your children left
Yes.
far
And
away.
I don't really, and for that reason, I don't remember too much about my brothers growing up,
Really?
because by the time I'm 6 years older.
So it was mostly you and Aunt Helen
And Lester.
and Lester.
Helen was about 6.5 years older than I.
And how old were
And
you?
Lester was 4 years younger.
Okay.
Weren't you very close to Lester?
I beg pardon?
Weren't you close to Lester? Very close to Lester?
Yes, we were close because I was 13 when my sister was married, so there were only two of us
Okay.
home.
Okay.
So he was always my little brother.
And
And
you were,
then he lived down the street from you in Florida, right?
Mm-hmm.
and he sought counsel with you as his older sister, if I recall.
That's what?
He came to you for advice,
Yeah.
didn't he?
Oh, yes.
When his life was in danger?
Well, even before they decided to sell their Florida home, he came over and said, "What should I do?" I said, "You should make up your own mind. I can't tell you what to do." He died early. Drank too much.
Why don't you take,
This picture, is it here?
there's one up in the room, are you gonna sleep in if you're gonna sleep in the twin bed tonight, there's one right by your bedside.
I may take it home with me.
That's when he was
It's
20.
their husbands, and I don't have a picture
Well,
of
then
mine.
you take that.
Okay.
He was 21 and you were 18, it was your engagement pictures.
No, he was 19, he was 3 years
19?
older. Formally,
Right.
Going steady.
for my birthday, I had the offer of a ring or a watch. And I didn't have a watch, so I chose a watch, so that was my engagement. Later on, I had a diamond.
Yeah. Always practical. Oh, that's great.
I forget what town Dad was born
I beg
in.
pardon?
The town in western Pennsylvania where Dad
He was
was.
born in,
I thought
town
it was
just
where
north
you
of there,
could
I
get
can't think of the name of it right now.
North of Kersey.
No, north of Catania. I think.
Yeah,
Her family was from Kersey.
It'll pop into my head, maybe in the middle of the night, I'll wake you up if it does.
And, what was it like when you were thinking of this career as a reporter, to suddenly realize you were thinking of getting married?
So it all sort of came together, I guess. Well, I was editor of the yearbook.
Right.
By the way, I'd like to take those yearbooks with me, remind me, will you?
Okay.
The man from Tanning's been wanting to see them. Anyhow, because I was editor of the yearbook, I was offered the job. I was the girl who was the one and only reporter for the paper. And he asked me if I would like the job. Of course I did.
That was the Katanning, I
How
think.
long did you do that?
Did I send you that picture of the National Honor Society that they were having the anniversary? And they published the picture of the members of the first National Honor
I
Society.
don't recall.
Didn't I send you that picture?
I don't
thought
think
you
so.
sent one to everybody.
Interesting. But didn't you think
Anyhow.
that you were,
I look exactly like Janice does now. You won't believe it in that picture.
didn't Didn't you think when you were this reporter that you were going to be the nouveau woman of the era? That you weren't going to get married and have children? Isn't that what you've told me? That this was, you were a professional woman, here I go. And I
don't
had
know,
this
but
career
I was a reporter
reporter.
for a year or more after I was
And you
married.
told me your friends were
Yeah.
very shocked to learn you were gonna marry Russ McGregor and have a family.
Yeah.
Because they thought you were on the road to being the Miss Professional Woman of the Century.
Well, everybody, I was supposed to be a man of the year or something, and I turned out to be a married lady with children.
Right, 9 years, 9 months, so.
I had a full
Same.
scholarship to college. And Russ said, if you go to college, it's going to break up our engagement. You're gonna meet somebody else, and he just talked me out of taking it.
I can imagine him doing that. That doesn't surprise me.
That's what he did to me.
So you went to college later.
I think you were smitten, weren't you?
I went to college later. I said it was my turn after the kids. You understand me? It's me chomping away at a piece of candy.
That's because we've denied you for so long, and we threw it out in front of you tonight.
They are tasty.
What about your
Would you like
sister? You haven't said anything
No,
about
I'm concerned about having
Helen.
diabetes.
I never knew her very well growing up, you
No?
know, there was this big gap of children. I was 13 when she was married.
Oh, that is a big
So
difference.
I remember when I was a little girl, I
about
remember
the
her
age.
making me dresses. She loved to sew. And she was, my sister could see a dress in a window, and she could go home and make that dress.
Oh, boy. Not
Well, you
me.
know, Jack and I have very fond memories of your father and the way he was to us as children, to his grandchildren.
He was a good grandfather.
He used, yeah, he was, and
Was a
I
great
can
grandfather.
imagine what a wonderful father he was, because my memory was that we would arrive and he'd say, let's go out and look for swinging bridges.
Oh,
You
yeah.
remember that?
Let's go out and what?
Over the
Look for
river right
swinging
outside
bridges.
of Leechburg.
And he made it appear that we, as a team, were discovering this swinging bridge, which, of course, in older years, looking back, realized that he knew exactly where they were and was trapping us into this whole thing. That we would find these swinging bridges and we'd go across them and he would shake them and try
Right.
to scare us and make them
Don't
swing
step
like
in the
this,
crack.
right?
Might fall through.
I kind of feel like he introduced me to nature. He loved the woods and he loved to walk and he loved to take me by the hand. And
He loved to go to the woods
walk
and
me
pick
through the
flowers,
woods.
wildflowers.
Yeah, he loved wild.
And he had 25 quarts of strawberries for each of us to take home from a garden in his
25
yard.
quarts?
I beg your pardon?
25 quarts?
25 quarts.
Oh,
Oh,
boy.
he had at least a half an acre in
Mm.
strawberries.
Well, they'll keep for several days in the refrigerator, but I had to make some jam, you know, which I didn't do much of. I went much of a canner.
So how did your mother and father feel when you took this break to get married from your career?
And they liked Russ. Russ used to come in, see, he was teaching then, and Mother had taught for 4 years, and they'd sit and discuss different things that happened at school. And I finally said, hey, who did you come to see, me or my mother?
That was your daddy.
And his family was not a great family, but he was the best.
I think he rose above that quite finely.
Oh, yeah, he did. Well, he lived with his sister from the time he was 12 years old, and that took him away from
But he still,
his father was
nonetheless,
alcoholic.
nonetheless, with all those problems that existed in the family, he was very respectful and very responsible to his family. His mother and Harry, wasn't he? Didn't he go up weekly to visit his mother and take care of the situation with
Oh,
her?
yes, that's right. You mean after he
He
died?
handled her finances and
That was after
he
Papa
was
died.
very loyal to, after Papa died,
Yeah.
yeah, and he was very
Yeah.
loyal to
And
his
he took
brothers
out-
and.
He had a woman stay full-time with his mother to do the work and cooking and everything. And as fast as she'd get a woman in, she'd fire him. So finally he went to her and he said, now listen, I'm bringing you a very nice woman. She'll stay with you, she'll do the cooking and cleaning. And if you don't keep this one, I'm going to put you in a home.
Whoops.
So what
She
happened?
listened to
She listened to him? Well, that's a good threat.
He had a bathroom put in downstairs, they didn't have any such thing at that time, but, you know.
Celebration last fall, I had to cancel out last minute, but had I gone, I would've gone up to the old birthplaces. My first Major League Baseball game.
Someday I'll show you some pictures, growing up pictures, I don't know whether you've ever seen them or not.
Yeah, good, I love to.
I'd like to have a copy of that if we have an extra one.
Sure. Well, I don't know if we have a copy. There are two pictures, this is literally hot off the press. There were two pictures and we couldn't decide between them. So I sent both off. We have, of course, we've got Margaret who, oh, my eyes are squinting. Oh, no.
Mother, tell
Well,
us.
my mother and father didn't, my mother always said the punishment has to fit the crime.
Mhm.
So, one day, I wasn't allowed to climb the cherry tree because it was broken, it would break off.
Mhm.
So I climbed the cherry tree and I got my foot stuck in one of these places,
Mhm.
couldn't get it out. Finally, I had to call for mother. And I can see her yet, she stood at the door like this and she said, "So, you climbed the cherry tree." She turned me around and walked away and left me in the cherry tree.
She's a very wise teacher.
And how long were you stuck
Well,
there?
it seemed like forever, but I'm sure she rescued me finally.
You don't remember how you got out?
What?
You don't remember how you got out?
No, she came and got me out. I had to have help. I was stuck, right,
Fine, was it?
Mm.
No, this was in Kersey.
And then what brought you from Kersey to Katanning?
I beg pardon?
What brought you from Kersey to Katanning?
job. My father was a master mechanic,
Uh-huh.
and he had got a much better job. That's when
So
we
you
were-
came,
yeah.
so how old were you when you
I
came
was
to
just 8
Katanning?
years old.
But you ended up graduating from Katanning High School,
Mm-hmm,
right?
mm-hmm.
And then all your children were born in Katanning.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And then if I remember, when I was a mere babe, we moved to the city and metropolis of
That's right,
of
you were too.
Pittsburgh.
You were too.
What was that like? You'd been in small towns all your life. What was it like coming to a big city?
Pittsburgh. Oh, well, I've always gone to Pittsburgh to shop, it wasn't too far away.
You know, that's when we lived on Remington Drive.
Yeah. Was it
Remington Drive, is
I
that
can
right?
remember you had your second birthday, not long after we moved. We moved in October, and you were 2 years old. And Janice sat at the table and she sang, "Happy birthday to me."
Always was very egocentric.
She
you
was
know.
2 years old.
That's where my little tricycle was stolen.
Hmm?
Remember Remington Drive, my little tricycle?
Yes.
Blue-green?
That's right.
Had a nickname for it. This was colored blue and green. Blue-green.
That was the
What
nickname,
was it
Stone.
Cole Green, that was
I've
clever.
forgotten.
What was it? I call it blue-green.
Oh, yeah.
I
That's right.
kinda remember that.
And you left
I
it
was
out one
almost
night
4.
overnight
Left it out
and it was
overnight.
stolen.
It's gone.
And then if I
Yeah.
recall, Jack and I were separated for some reason when, around this age, 2, 3, 4, something like that.
Probably for your health.
Probably for our health, our own sanity. We were separated, and when we came back together again, we have this wonderful photo. I don't know if MJ's ever seen this
What do you
photo.
mean you were separated?
Jack went somewhere, or I went somewhere to visit a grandparent,
Oh, that.
and we hadn't seen each other for maybe
You know,
5 or 7 days
My mother always took you for a while in the summer, but she's always took you, excuse me, one
together.
at a time.
But, yeah, well, something happened where we hadn't seen each other for a while. And when we came back together again, we gave each other this big bear hug, and you have a picture.
Oh, yeah, I've
took
seen
a
it.
snapshot.
Yes, yes, yes.
Where these like a 2 and 3 year olds and we're hugging,
And there are an awful lot of
we're
pictures
hugging
like-
each other because we missed each other. What was that all
That's
about?
right.
have disappeared from
Did
my
you-
books,
That's
and I was
correct.
looking at them the other day, and I said, those rascals, they've been in my books again.
Well,
That's
no,
right.
I don't know.
Well, Jack doesn't remember when there wasn't a Janice. They were
Right.
only 14 and a half months apart, and when
Right.
Janice was born, I had all my babies at home, and I was in bed for 2 weeks with a nurse. How about
Mm.
that? Anyhow,
I think that's
Sounds
the least you
lovely.
could do.
oh, it's wonderful. Anyhow, I didn't want there to be any jealousy between these two. The other two weren't that close, and then there was 5 years,
Mhm.
So when she was in bed beside me, tiny baby, I had Jack over here and was reading the story. I didn't want them to be jealous of each other.
Right.
For
When
real?
Jack was 11 months old, believe this or not, I was probably pregnant about at that time, but anyhow, I was in the 5 and 10 cent store. We were looking for little books, you get for the children. And Jack was pointing out this, and the name of this story, and the name of this story. He's 11 months old.
Oh.
Very precocious.
Extremely so, I
And
should
it's
say.
After you have toilet training.
I would
Yeah.
hope you're.
And
Months
you
after I was
know,
toilet
the
trained.
clerk went and called over the manager of the store. And she said, just listen to this child.
Is that right?
There was
I said, that fell on the heels of you toilet training him. Don't you say that you had him toilet trained at a year and a half?
he trained himself.
And I'm still anal.
He trained, I kid you
I'm
not.
glad you said it. I was
He was
conjuring up how I was
6
gonna
months
phrase it.
old. Now, this is absolute gospel. When he was 6 months old, every single morning, when I went to get him out of bed, he was dry. And I thought, well, this is crazy. I'll just take him out and put him in the potty every morning, which I did, and that was it.
Okay,
And
now
that's
that
till after
Ron's
the
got the
birthday.
goods on you.
Now she's going to, I shouldn't have told that in front of your wife. She'll just tell all her
Oh,
friends.
she sensed it.
I think it doesn't come as a surprise.
Actually,
Oh, yeah.
Well, Mother, let's
I-
trot on down memory lane to age 48, when you and Dad discovered that he had terminal cancer. What was that like for you with
terrible,
4 children?
terrible.
You had to,
He said from the time the doctor told him, he said it. Well, as a matter of fact, he was at a convention in Harrisburg, and the doctor called me and said my husband had just had surgery, and they felt that they had done a good job if he lived for 1 year. He lived for 2 years, but it was awful. He should have been dead, and I had to watch that. That's not much fun. You know, you get to the point where relief is the only thing that you can expect. Really bad. We had him at New York, we had him every place, but nothing. They said in New York, the trouble with people going to Sloan Kettering was that they were last minute people, and they would come to be checked, you know. Many times they could be saved, but they were beyond that point by the time they got them.
Right.
and what did that present to you as a widow at 49?
Problems, lots of problems.
Must have been pretty scary.
It was. But he had, I think, he had 4 insurance policies. One of them was to clear the mortgage in the house, and the other 3, I think, amounted to like $1,500. That's what I had. Unmortgaged house and that much. Fortunately, the children were all, Janice was still in college. The rest were all through. Jack was in the service.
Jack was
because we
somewhere
got him
near
home.
Athens on a ship.
Right.
Yeah, the doctor, and he came to me and he said, if I can call your son while your husband is seriously ill, they'll let him out of the service. But if we wait till he dies, they won't let him come home. So he took it on himself and he went and called, got Jack home.
But you took,
Hard battle, but nothing we could do. And you know, there have been 4 people in that family that have died of colon cancer, and that's why I want you guys to watch it. Get
all
checked.
right.
That's too
Yeah,
bad.
I've been getting checked every
As far as
3
I
years,
know,
every 2 or
there
3
was
years.
no cancer in my side of the family at all. But there was a lot. So it should be
But
checked.
it wasn't too long though, until you got yourself on your feet and you decided to take the advice of some good friends and go to work at Chatham, right? Chatham College?
Yeah, I went to Chatham and I immediately started going to taking courses. The bursar came to me, I started right away to go to the University of Pittsburgh, and the bursar from Chatham came to me after I started working there and said, I understand you're taking courses at the University of Pittsburgh, and I said, yes I am. He said, well, if you want to transfer here, we'll give you full credit for you, and you can get your credits here, and it won't cost you anything, so that's what I did.
4 kids were out of college, you were gonna go to college, right? And you did.
My turn, it was my turn. You were still in college, You
That
weren't,
was, October of my senior year,
When Dad died.
when Dad
Yeah.
died. That was a very tough
November.
graduation, I remember,
November something or other, don't remember the date, New 16th?
October 17th.
Oh, that's right, October 17th,
Hey, Jack, I have an uncanny memory for numbers too.
I remember
Just
dates.
freaks Ron out on my numbers. I can call him after being on the phone with reservationists and say, oh, by the way, we're going on flight 900 to Frankfurt. The confirmation number is such and such, it departs at such and such a time, and our seat numbers are 21 A and B.
right? He was determined he wasn't going to get back to the hospital again. But the doctor said it would get to the point where the medicine that I was allowed to get him, being not a nurse or a
Right.
doctor, he'd have to go to the hospital to keep him from having so much pain. So
Yeah.
he was in the hospital. And I went and spent the night, and I held his hand as he died.
Oh, it must have been tough.
Well, you were very strong during that period, Mother. You really were.
Yes, you were. Now that you're
Whatever's
nine,
put on our plate is what we
Yeah.
take, and we have to cope, that's all.
now that you're 93 and have all this wonderful wisdom of the ages to partake and pass on to your
Yeah.
descendants, what sage advice do you have to offer all your grandchildren and great-grandchildren?
Well, I wouldn't offer them advice that they didn't ask for. Betsy's the one that came to me more than anybody.
Mhm.
Betsy poured out everything to me, and I think I've been very close to her because of that.
Well, you were hugely special to Betsy during, well, that was from,
Well,
A lot of
I was
crazies.
closer to your children. I
77.
didn't see the rest of
Well,
mine.
you
I
lived
didn't
there.
really know Janice's children. But I enjoyed children. I really did.
What's the big thing you've learned with your life that you'd like to pass on to everybody? Hmm?
I'd have to think about that. I started writing down a lot of these things. when
I know what it is. I can tell you in a minute what it is.
What?
Memorize all of the Q words that do not require a U, and you
And-
too can
and
win at
beat-
Scrabble.
And beat everybody.
You still can't beat Lee, but by golly, you
Do
can
not
beat
lose
everybody
lying
else.
down, right?
I'm afraid. I'll tell
One of yours
if I
said
would beat one game with 3 when he was there, we played a lot of Scrabble, he loves to play,
oh, I'm sure.
so do I. If I play one game out of 3, I was doing well. Great game.
Well, as your grandfather, as your father and our grandfather used to say, Daisy, I think we should be getting to bed so these poor people can go home.
That, you mean your grandfather McGregor?
No, Hampton.
Oh, Hampton.
Hampton, you say, Daisy, I think we should be
Ah.
going to bed
That's right.
so these poor people can go
Can
home.
go, that's right.
You got your grandfathers mixed
No,
up.
no, that's
No?
the story you told us. Often.
Grandfather
Oh.
McGregor said that?
Yeah.
Daisy, he'd just stand up and he'd say, Daisy, it's time to go home.
Oh, yeah.
And nobody knew they were going
He'd go
home.
pick up his hat and he'd be ready to go, yeah.
And nobody knew they were
You're
going
right,
home.
you're
It was
right.
like, how long are they here? Well, nobody ever knew until Pa stood up and said, Daisy, it's time to go home.
And he'd have a hat on, ready to go out the door.
Yeah.
That was it.
Well, about this moment, I'm with him.
Okay.
Well,
Probably what we should do.